He crashed hard and called for help, but the paramedics just stood there and laughed at him. The forest was silent until the crash shattered it. A black SUV skidded hard around a bend on the narrow asphalt road, slammed sideways into a tree, and crumpled like foil. Smoke curled from the hood. Inside, Elijah's vision blurred. Blood ran down the side of his face, and every breath came sharp, cracked, broken. His hands shook as he reached for the door. It wouldn't open. This was supposed to be a quiet drive, no traffic, no press, just him and a call to clear his head. Now he was trapped, bleeding, alone in the middle of nowhere. He hit the emergency beacon on his dash. Somewhere, a signal pinged. 20 minutes passed before help arrived. An ambulance rolled up the forest road, tires crunching gravel. 2 paramedics stepped out, Mark and Rachel, both in their 30s. Calm, clean, efficient looking. Elijah exhaled in relief, but they didn't run. They didn't even open the back of the ambulance. Mark squinted toward the wreck, saw Elijah's face, and scoffed. "Black guy," he muttered. Rachel smirked. "We don't help black people," she said. Elijah froze. Maybe he hit his head harder than he thought. But then Mark laughed. "Let nature handle this one." Elijah blinked. "Please," he rasped. But Rachel had already turned her back. They had no idea who he was or who was about to find out. Elijah's breaths came shorter now, ragged and shallow. The seatbelt had locked tight across his chest, and every second without oxygen was crushing his ribs like a vice. He looked out through the cracked windshield. Mark leaned casually against the ambulance door, arms crossed, chewing gum. Rachel was scrolling through her phone like they were on a lunch break. No equipment out, no radio calls, nothing. The forest was quiet again, except for Elijah's faint gasps and the creak of cooling metal. "You're wasting time," Elijah called out, voice barely audible. Rachel didn't even look up. Mark smirked. "You got ID on you? Insurance? Anything worth our time?" Elijah blinked. His wallet had flown somewhere in the crash. He couldn't reach it. He tried again. "I can pay." Rachel cut him off. "Yeah, that's what they all say." She turned to Mark. "Bet the car's stolen." Mark nodded. "Bet he's on parole." A low laugh between them. This wasn't just neglect. It was intentional, cruel, calculated. But they didn't know one thing. Elijah wasn't just any man with a nice car. He was the CEO of one of the largest private health tech companies in the country, and the satellite in orbit above had already logged the crash. In less than 5 minutes, his emergency response system would notify his private security network, and someone was already en route. 3 more minutes passed. Elijah's vision blurred at the edges, but his mind was still sharp, focused. He had built his company from nothing, coded the alert system himself, installed satellite-linked crash detection in every executive vehicle. And now that system was quietly doing what Mark and Rachel refused to. 4 miles out, a private helicopter shifted course toward the forest. But on the ground, the situation was spiraling. A car pulled up, not another ambulance, just a regular civilian in a gray Subaru. A young woman stepped out, mid-30s, hiking gear in the back seat. Her name was Sophia, and she had seen the wreck from the trailhead turnoff. "Is he okay?" she asked, rushing toward the scene. Rachel stepped in front of her, blocking the view. "Stay back. Nothing to see." Sophia frowned. "Is that smoke? Did you check if he's conscious?" Mark rolled his eyes. "Lady, we've got it under control." But Sophia didn't back down. She saw Elijah in the driver's seat, eyes fluttering, lips dry. She reached for her phone. "I'm calling this in. You're not doing anything." Rachel moved fast, grabbed Sophia's wrist hard. "You do that, and you'll regret it." Her voice wasn't professional, it was a threat. But Sophia had already hit record, and that video was going to change everything. Sophia yanked her arm back, her phone still recording. "Did you just put hands on me?" she said, voice sharp. Rachel froze for half a second, long enough for the fake professionalism to drop. "You're interfering with an active medical scene," Mark snapped. stepping forward now. "We can have you arrested." "For what?" Sophia said, backing up just enough to keep her camera steady. "For filming you while you let a man die in a car?" That hit. Mark's jaw tightened. Elijah, barely able to speak, forced out a whisper. "Please, don't stop filming." Sophia glanced at him, then back at the paramedics. "You know this is being uploaded in real time, right?" Rachel scoffed, but her confidence cracked for a moment. The woods around them were still quiet, but there was a new sound now. Faint, distant, a low thudding, rhythmic. Mark turned his head toward the trees. "What is that?" Rachel asked. It grew louder. The unmistakable pulse of a helicopter. Not life flight. Not police. Something sleeker. Faster. Sophia raised an eyebrow. "You hear that? That's not for you." Mark's face went pale. Elijah managed the faintest smile. "They're early." Neither paramedic had any clue who was about to step out of that chopper or what he was bringing with him. The helicopter broke through the tree line, like a shadow splitting the sky. Matte black, low flying, too quiet for a news crew, and too fast for a medical evac. Mark squinted as it hovered above the road, sending leaves spinning in all directions. "What the hell is this?" he muttered. Rachel took a step back, shielding her face from the wind. The chopper didn't land on the road. It landed in the clearing just beyond the crash site, feet from the tree line. Within seconds, two figures stepped out. One wore a sharp gray suit, not a speck of dirt on him. The other held a tactical medical bag. They moved with purpose. "Elijah!" the suited man shouted. "We've got you." Mark raised his hands like he was in charge. "You can't just barge into a scene." The man didn't even look at him. "And you are?" "We're paramedics," Rachel snapped. "We've been assessing the situation." The suited man turned, calm, controlled, deadly quiet. "You left a man to die." He pulled out a badge. "Not police. Corporate security. High level. Elijah's company. You're both going to want lawyers." Rachel's mouth opened, then shut. Sophia kept filming. Elijah's eyes fluttered, but he was still conscious. The real medics were already on him. "Vitals dropping," one of them said. "Let's move." And just like that, the people who were supposed to save him were now the ones being left behind. Elijah was lifted gently from the wreck, oxygen mask pressed to his face, chest stabilized, vitals monitored. The private medic worked fast, professional, precise, no hesitation. "He's lost a lot of blood," she said, voice steady. "But he's conscious. He's going to make it." The suited man, whose name was Daniel, stayed close, eyes locked on Mark and Rachel. "You abandoned a man who's paying half this state's healthcare salaries," he said coldly. "And you did it on camera?" Rachel tried to recover. "We didn't know who he was." Daniel didn't blink. "That's the problem." Mark stepped forward, grasping for control. "We thought the vehicle might be stolen. He wasn't responsive." "Protocol." "Protocol?" Daniel interrupted. "Because I've got time-stamped footage that says otherwise." He nodded toward Sophia, who was still filming now, joined by another hiker from the trail who had heard the shouting. 2 witnesses, 2 cameras, and a man who very much was not dead. "You're not just fired," Daniel added. "You're done." Rachel's voice shook. "You don't have that authority." Daniel leaned in. "Elijah owns the company that holds the medical contract for this entire county. Every ambulance, every route, every personnel file." Mark went quiet. Rachel's lips parted, but no sound came out. For the first time, they understood they hadn't ignored a victim. They'd tried to humiliate a king. Back in the clearing, the sound of the helicopter's rotors faded as it lifted off with Elijah safely inside. But on the ground, the silence was now suffocating. Mark stared at the trees like they might swallow him. Rachel's face had lost all color. Sophia was uploading the footage not later, but now. With a signal booster in her car, the video went straight to a private server she used for live nature streams. Thousands of subscribers, comments already pouring in. The title hit hard. Paramedics refused to help Black man after crash, CEO left to die. And then it hit Twitter. The hashtags ignited like wildfire. Elijah deserved help. Fire them now. Racist responders. Within 10 minutes, local news stations were calling. Within 30, national outlets. Mark's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, eyes narrowing. It was a message from his supervisor. One line, "You're suspended, pending investigation." Rachel's buzzed next. Same message. Daniel stood there watching, arms crossed. "You made a choice," he said. Not just to ignore a man, but to show the world who you really are. Rachel looked around the forest like there was still a way out. But it was already too late. What they did in secret had become the country's front page. By the time they made it back to the station, the cameras were already there. News vans lined the street. Reporters swarmed the front entrance like bees. Mark tried to shove through the crowd, hoodie pulled low, but the questions came flying. Did you really say it? Was this racially motivated? Do you think Elijah Williams deserved to die? Rachel trailed behind him, her hands shaking. The news wasn't calling him Elijah anymore, it was Mr. Williams. Headlines weren't subtle. Black CEO abandoned by paramedics. Racism in plain sight. Medical professionals or monsters? Inside the building, their chief was waiting. Not with support with HR. With legal, and with 2 sealed folders. "You're both on indefinite leave," he said, not meeting their eyes. "Turn in your gear and lawyer up." Rachel snapped. "This is insane. We've been working here for 9 years. And you'll never work here again?" The chief cut in. "The governor's calling for your certification to be revoked. And if Elijah doesn't sue you, the public will." Mark stood still, silent. But Rachel kept going. "He didn't even look hurt. He didn't tell us who he was. How were we supposed to know?" The chief slammed the folder shut. "You weren't supposed to know. You were supposed to help." For the first time all day, Rachel had no comeback, just silence and regret. Rachel sat on the edge of her couch, still in uniform pants, staring at the TV like it might blink first. Her name was on every channel now, not just in headlines and full-blown segments. Footage of her laughing, ignoring a dying man, saying the words that would never be erased. "We don't help Black people." Her face was everywhere. Her phone was dead not from battery, but from the flood of missed calls, voicemails, threats. Mark hadn't responded to her texts, not since the station. She opened her laptop, hoping maybe things had calmed down. They hadn't. There was a petition with over 200,000 signatures demanding criminal charges. Her landlord had emailed her lease was under review. She couldn't even order groceries without seeing her own face in a thumbnail. And then came the final blow. A letter slid under her door. Not official. Hand-delivered. It was from Elijah's legal team. One line at the top, "You are being named in a civil rights lawsuit." Attached were copies of the footage, transcripts, witness names. The last page showed damages being sought. Millions. Rachel sank back against the wall, eyes wide, breath shallow. This wasn't just about losing her job anymore. This was about losing everything. Across town, the view from Elijah's penthouse was calm, skyline lit. Glass of water beside his bed. Quiet hum of the air monitor beside him. He was recovering. Bruised ribs. A mild concussion. Deep exhaustion. But alive. Watching. His assistant sat nearby, scrolling through news reports. "They've both been fired," she said. Certification boards already moving to revoke licenses. Civil suits filed. Criminal review pending. Elijah nodded slowly. Good. But his voice wasn't angry, it was measured. Focused. "I don't want revenge," he said. "I want precedent." He leaned forward. "I want every EMT, every nurse, every cop in this country to know. If you choose hate over duty, you will answer for it." Across the screen, a clip played again, Rachel's voice. "We don't help Black people." Then the helicopter. Then Sophia's video. Then Daniel's arrival. The whole country had seen it. And this time, no one could say it was just a misunderstanding. No body cam glitch, no paperwork error, just truth, ugly and raw. Elijah reached for his phone. He opened a note he had written the day after the crash. At the top, a new foundation emergency equity initiative. He smiled faintly. "Let's build something better," he whispered. And then he hit send. If that ending gave you chills, share this story. Because silence lets this happen, but truth tears it down.